she's very honoring and committed to assessing throughout and, creating and developing the yoga interventions that are specific to that individual. What kind of breath work do they need to do? What postures are they able to do and need to do based on what they're bringing into her that day? And that is a practice that teaches them to be in their body. And so there's this additional process that I'm not trained to lead someone through all the different aspects of yoga, nor would I want to, because I don't feel trained to make sure they're in a posture safely, and I don't know all the different types of breaths that there are. There are lots of types of breath in yoga, but I don't know them all. And even the ones I do know, I wouldn't be sure I'm at the level to teach someone else how to do them. Do you know what I mean? I think there's training required in that. And so I will tell the client or the patient to breathe, or I'll cue them to that. But I don't feel like I need to teach them all the different types of breath. Simone Marquet is the yoga therapist I work with, and when I refer clients to her, she'll say, well, I taught them bumblebee breath, or I taught them this type of breath, or lion's breath, and it's these different types of breath, or these different postures, more restorative postures versus more active postures, depending on the patient. And that grounds them in their body. And then she and I, Simone, the yoga therapist, and I are teaming. We contact each other between sessions. We give reports. Sometimes, often, I would say, but not always, our work feels very parallel in process. What's happening in her body work is happening in my talk therapy. So it's a very powerful thing.
That sounds really interesting. Do you notice a big difference if we compare clients that do not take advantage of the yoga interface, the parallel work there, and those that do? What are some of the differences that you notice?
Well, I can tell you I kind of moved into this. I believe in it so strongly, Carol, kind of by accident, if you will. And at some point I need to talk just to kind of ground more why I believe in this in my own history, because I struggle with chronic fatigue and some chronic illness for a period of time, and I still manage the fatigue. And so I learned through that, I saw my own the parallel process. I mean, the dynamic between the mind and the body. It got to the point that I was so sensitive that if I had a stressful day or if it was emotional, all of my physical symptoms would kick off. So I began to go, wow, what is this? I was kind of one of your cynics out there going, yeah, all this body stuff, even though I was a runner and I valued the body. And so it was through my own, I got so sick that the only physical thing I could do was yoga, gentle yoga, restorative yoga. I couldn't even do the standing poses at one point. It's just too much for me. But through that, I really got in tune with my body and discovered this mind-body link at a very personal level. So it was through that I was working with a client, one of my first clients that I referred to, Simone, and I had been with this client for 2 years. And I do long-term therapy. I was meeting with her twice a week. Being with a client 6 to 10 years doesn't faze me. Being with them shorter is fine, but it's a lifelong process of rebuilding attachments is the way I view it, and I'm in there for the long haul. And people come and do deep work and leave and come back, But this particular client had reached a stuck point, and I think those of us who do therapy know we have clients where things kind of get stuck, and you can try to create insight and you can work through emotions and you can talk about the feelings, and those are incredibly important. But there's sometimes when it feels like you're just looping around the same issue and we're not really moving. And I thought, and this particular client was very shut down, could not make eye contact, but she had made it a goal to make eye contact with me. And it would take every bit of her effort to raise her eyes up and look at me before she would shut them back down. And after a while, I thought, gosh, she's so shut down. Her body was rigid. She was just hanging on. It just had the posture of hanging on and being afraid. And even though she could tell me that she liked me, she trusted me, she wasn't okay if she didn't come in for therapy, as far as her overt relationship with me, it wasn't a problem. It's just that she couldn't let go and be in it fully. So I just said, God, I think that I'm going to make a referral to Simone. Now, Simone is a trained, certified yoga therapist. She's not just a yoga teacher. And there's some amazing yoga teachers out there who are doing really good work. But I do want to clarify, the yoga therapy, and we can talk about this more later too, but the yoga therapy is another level of training and credentialing. And Loyola Marymount has a program, and not all yoga therapists are in mental health field. In fact, most are, I don't know if most, but a lot of them are doing work with cardiology or other types of, physiological things, stress and, stroke victims and, pain and leg joint problems, these kinds of things that make you think more physical therapy and that type of stuff. But Simone, I'm like, I need you. Can we work on this in mental health? And she's like, sure, I'm game.
Interesting.
Let's learn how to do this together. And to Simone's credit, and this is part of what we teach in the collaborative treatment teaming program that we teach, and when Simone and I teach both to yoga therapists as well as to mental health professionals, is the deep respect to honor each other's field and tradition and what you're trained in, because she was very wanting to understand and get and respect the dynamics of the therapy and the mental and relational functioning of this particular client. She wasn't rushing in going, oh, I know what to do. I've got yoga. I'll take her off your hands, which is a thought out there. There are people out there who think that yoga will take care of everything, and it's just not true. Yoga takes care of a lot, and some people may get all they need from it. But if you're truly working on a mental, emotional, relational dynamic, you're going to need to do the psychotherapy with someone who's trained in how to work through the process of the relational attachment with you and correct it and heal it and highlight it. And so Simone recognizes that. The yoga therapist I work with respects that, respects our field, respects mental health and psychotherapy. She respects psychiatry. I mean, there's no conflict there. She's not trying to take that over. But what she did do was assess this client's body. In the first session, she saw her once, and she said, wow, her body was so locked up. Just beginning to do slow, gentle opening poses was a big deal. And helping her begin to do breath work was, she said, we just have to get her breathing. And often she'll start there because people aren't breathing. But she said, we have to get her started breathing. But I want to tell you something, Carol. This is where I was like, oh, my God. And I shifted probably on this experience. She came back after one session, and the first 5 minutes or not even 5 minutes, probably 1 minute wasn't, 1 minute can feel like a long time in a session, but she came in, naturally made eye contact with me and held it for a period of time. I know. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? So I was like, whoa, look what, I can get choked up over it still. I'm like, look what happened for this young woman who's been struggling to look at me in the eye and could not do it, could not release to do it, did one session of yoga, and her body released her to do it. So I guess what I'm saying is I am a believer by stumbling into this, and now I research it, and now I study it, and I find it's supported in so many places. We're finding it's happening everywhere in the field. I think it's the birth, it's the next place we're going in our field. Your radio show, you're addressing it all the time. I think this is where we're going, but it's profound. It's profound, the difference, and it doesn't mean psychotherapy's not working. It just means it needs a partner. It needs more to complete the whole person's healing.
Well, that's a very dynamic description. As you're talking, I'm thinking the ability to attach to your own body as associated to the ability to attach to another person. I deal a lot with individuals in intimacy, sexual intimacy, holding, cuddling, just being close, sharing proximity with other people is very much a connection with one's own body as it is an interface with another person. So if you're not attached to your own body and feeling at ease, or at least familiar in that space, whether it's at ease or not, it's hard to be in the presence of someone else's body as well.
Absolutely.
It's a beautifully illustrated experience of that. Now, can you talk? I know that you definitely do breathing as a stress management is like what we say in our field, but
sure.
A stress reduction or a stress coordination, so that I know you do that in your sessions. So let's say a person's listening right now and they are feeling stressed. They're stressed enough to want to connect with us and to have this talk. So how do you tell them right now to pay attention to their breathing and to be mindful of it, even though you're not the yoga breathing specialist?
Right.
What would you do?
What do I do? If someone were in session with me, or if someone were just in dialogue with me about this, then I'm going to use the session context. I just ask them, are you breathing? I mean, you'd be surprised how that simple question